I played this clip, and this clip is just interesting, so I want to share it with you. Now, you've seen this interview before, pieces of this interview before. This is Marco Mendicino on Power and Politics with, I don't know, the host is sitting in for Vashi Capellos, I think her name is. But anyway, this host is actually doing his job. He's pressing Marco Mendicino a little bit, and it seems like he knows a little bit about the topic. So anyway, I'm just going to play it, and we'll talk about it after. Check it out.
So let's go with this one, the SKS that Evan was talking about off the top of the show. Very popular hunting rifle, well used throughout the country. Yes, it was a military weapon in 1945. I mean, that's 70 years ago. So that's not in the same category or capacity as an AR-15 would be today. Under this as written, a lot of hunting advocates say the SKS is going to be banned by this. I mean, what do you say to those concerns about that particular popular, primarily hunting rifle?
Well, you said it yourself. This was a gun that was designed for a battlefield. It was designed to ensure that the greatest amount of lethal force could be exercised in the shortest period of time.
Any gun can be used in a crime, right? Regardless of its, the various specifications, all this. And the SKS, yes, it was built for a battlefield, but a battlefield of 75, 80 years ago. I mean, how far back do you go? I mean, the Lee-Enfield was the most popular rifle for the Allies in the First World War. I mean, but that's a century ago. So, I mean, how far back do you go on this? It has evolved in its purpose to be a hunting rifle as opposed to a battlefield weapon. It's not used by the military anymore. So are you being overly broad in going after a rifle such as this, which is used overwhelmingly for hunting in this country?
Look, it cannot be disputed that the original purpose for this gun was to be used during a wartime, not to be used in a community.
But in 1945.
But still, that was the original purpose, and we can agree to that. That is a fact.
Okay, so this conversation is around the SKS, okay? And of course it's edited. So I showed you a little flash in the middle to show that it was edited. So this wasn't the entire conversation all at once. I think that whole conversation was somewhere around 11 or 12 minutes. But basically it's Marco Mendicino telling the host that the justification that he needs to ban the SKS is the fact that it has a military lineage, that it was designed for a military purpose. And the host is doing what he was supposed to do, which was to push back to say, well, and come up with an example, which he did, which was the Lee-Enfield rifle. So the Lee-Enfield rifle is a rifle of military lineage that's probably used by probably 1 million, owned or used by 1 million people for hunting in Canada, okay? Probably 1 million. Lots of Indigenous hunters use Lee-Enfields because they're affordable, they're reliable, and it's a bolt-action rifle that you can pick up pretty much anywhere. So the host presses him, well, what about the Lee-Enfield? And Marco Mendicino doesn't say anything to the contrary. He doesn't defend the Lee-Enfield. He doesn't say, well, that's a bolt-action rifle that probably 1 million people own in Canada, and it's bolt-action. It's completely appropriate for hunting, even though it has a military heritage. So that one's not going to be unless he doesn't do that. He just continues to talk about the SKS. Well, was it or wasn't it not a military rifle? We can agree on that. That's a fact. So I find that really interesting because are they going to ban the Lee-Enfield? Are they going to call that a variant of every other bolt action that they stuck in Amendment G46? Again, by the way, if you want to see that amendment, you can go to firearmrights.ca or ccfr.ca, go to the website, and we have the whole list there in case you missed that, right? Just scroll down on the main page and you'll see here's the list of banned firearms. But isn't that interesting how he didn't defend it? And how he basically dug his heels and said, you know what, if it comes from a military lineage, that's all the justification we need to ban it. And then, you know, and I'll go just a step further if you want to just hang out with me for one more minute. It's interesting because then they go through all of this trouble by saying, well, there's all these other firearms on the market that you can replace these military firearms with. And it's like, well, there are other bolt actions. Like, what do you mean? Like, I can't have a Lee-Enfield or I can't have, well, a Mauser, right? The 1908 Brazilian Mauser, plus in that amendment, it also says Mauser Sporter, right? All the sporterized Mausers, guns that are made from Mauser actions like the Parker Hale rifles, like a whole bunch of them. You can't own those, but you can have a Remington 700. That's okay. That's representing, like, I think sometimes we kind of forget how ridiculous and absurd, how, you know, clown, bizarro world this whole conversation is. You can't have these bolt-action rifles, but you can have some other ones of a different name that are functionally equivalent. Just play our game. because you might be able to buy these for now. You know, you never know. These could come, you know, we're one shooting with a bolt action away from losing bolt actions, right? So anyway, I just thought it was quite interesting how this would have been a really great opportunity for him to say, oh, Lee-Enfield? No, we don't want to piss off all the Lee-Enfield owners out there, around 1 million of them probably. You know, no, they could care less.
Remember, if you don't stand up for your own ability to own and use firearms, who will? Join the CCFR or donate right now at www.firearmrights.ca.